steering wheel. Somebody tell him to give it to me.
There's something loose between my legs.
I don't know. Let go!
I'm heavier than a freaking boat.
Nothing he's could say could make that any better.
No more radio for the rest of the race.
I'm going home.
Hello and welcome to DRSFC, an F1 podcast by soccer nerds. I am a soccer nerd. I'm André Carlisle, and I'm here with only one other soccer nerd. That makes the math easy on a nerdy podcast. Donald, how are you?
I'm good. I've been traveling everywhere, but I'm back in DC for like 4 days.
Wow.
Hey, it's just the two of us. We could say this. There's an NWSL final on Saturday. Kind of important day, huh?
It's a little bit important. Yeah, I'm a little sad I'm not there, but you know what?
Same.
Things happen, and I'm wishing the Spirit good luck. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited about the way the season's gone. This ain't a Spirit podcast, although it could be. We're going to talk about the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It is at the Las Vegas Strip Street Circuit. Donald, I'm going to turn it over to you to give the people information about the track.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite tracks. This is one of my favorite races. It's only been around since 2023, but it's Las Vegas. This is my wheelhouse. That Miami, COTA, like the three American races are in places that are near and dear to me. This is no exception. The length of it, 3.85 miles, because yes, we're back in America. 6.201 kilometers, 50 laps of this race. One of the glitzy, glamoury night races. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. And we'll talk about all the other things surrounding this race. The lap record was set last year by Lando Norris. It's a minute 34.876 seconds for that.
You know what? Before we even get into like track likes and dislikes and all of that business, we're going to do tire talk and maybe track shape. Or Deepty's not here to get us in X-rated trouble. So it'll
Correct.
just be us trying to figure out what this thing looks like. But before all of that, I kind of want to have a little conversation with you, especially because Vegas is one of your spots. Like, I've been impressed with the way this race has grown, not just like here in the States, but also in prestige around like people in F1. Like it requires different demands of the car. It's a night race. It's cold because it's a desert. And it's just a different challenge. And the racing can be good. There's long straights. Overtaking can happen. And it feels like, I mean, COTA's number one in the United States. COTA's number one. But it feels like this might be number two and pretty high, a lot higher up than what I've kind of heard other people talking about. It was almost like, oh, of course, F1's going to go to Vegas. They want to do this Drive to Survive. Glitzy. You remember when they did like the introductions to all the drivers and it was so awkward? Like everybody was kind of cringing like, oh, are we really going to Americanize it? But the actual racing product in the track has actually been quite good over the past couple of years.
Yeah, and I think they've also made certain tweaks to it, right? Like we'll talk at the end. The sessions are earlier in the evening, so it's not going to be as cold. The race is going to be at 8 instead of 10 o'clock local time, so it's not going to be as cold. They're making changes to it, but also it's about the entertainment part of it. Like F1 knows to break into certain markets, and for them to grow in the United States, the glitz and glam, whether they want it or not, has to be a part of it. And this is part of the glitz and glam portion of the schedule, the final part of the schedule. The prestige that you talked about, is no more evident than the fact it's one of the last three races of the year. They have this, then they have Qatar, then they have Abu Dhabi. All of those bring out the glitz and glam that F1 likes to have at the end of the season. And so with that, I think the track, obviously they've made changes to it. The first year wasn't great, but they were able to take what they learn about that race and apply it to these future races. So in year 3, they're expecting this to be, a even better race than it has been before. Now, we mentioned the weather. It's been raining there all week. They had flash flooding, which is not normal for this time of year for Vegas, but that seems to be cleared out. But the idea that could change the dynamics of this track, they're going to have to spend hours dry. Like, I'm sure they didn't think about bringing the blow dryers to Vegas for this. So they're going to have to figure that part out. And I think, again, with it being earlier, you mentioned the tires, C3, C4, and C5 are the 3 tire compounds. That is a higher compound than they've had before, because this race is earlier in the evening, and last year they saw the medium tires especially really get ground to dust with it being so cold and the warm up being something that had to spend a lot of energy. They're hoping they don't have to use that much this time.
Yeah, I think I remember last year at Vegas, like the trick seemed to be to go really slow and do 2 out laps before you did your full like push lap. That was a little bit bonkers. So we'll see if the same thing happens, and it probably will, considering that the track is probably going to be a little slick, maybe because of the rain and all of that. So it's going to be interesting. It's definitely a different dynamic, but I am happy to kind of see like Vegas be treated as a fascinating like engineering problem to solve. And that's what's kind of been really cool about this race is yes, it looks cool. It's under the lights. It's in Vegas. That big ass sphere is there. It's fun visually. It's stunning, but also like there's a story to be told on the engineering side of it and what they're trying to cope with these cars that are in a pretty unfamiliar environment, which is kind of fun. By the way, just know that you have an Air Zamunda hat on, and if you know, you know. Also, I need that link. That hat is amazing.
I got you.
All right, let's keep going. Let's see, because I do want to talk about something specific in terms of the glitz and glam and under the lights kind of thing, but I'm going to wait until we start talking about what to watch. So I guess we have to do this now, just you and I. The track shape.
I got it. I figured it out.
Please, because I got nothing on this one.
Spider pig. Racers were never a spider pig races. This is an upside down pig. That's what this is. And if you look at it, I don't know. I see you have it in front of you.
I do.
It's an upside down pig. That there's nothing else it could be misconstrued as. There's no other things out there, to my knowledge, with my elementary, I guess my naive brain, like that is not a part of that world. Hi, Miami. There's nothing else that could be other than an upside down pig.
I'm just looking at the doc, seeing if like Deepti might come in at the last minute and put something in here diabolical. But I think we've gotten past the segment, and I think we're in the clear. I don't think she's in here. So good. All right, I need to go to break very quickly before she appears. All right, so now we get to the point where we need to talk about like what to watch during this race. We did miss a review, and apologies. Things got hectic for all of us. We have 900 co-hosts, so that hopefully that doesn't happen. But every now and then, because we're all quite busy, it may happen. And apologies for that. It was a very exciting race, a very fun race. So we're a little bit disappointed that we didn't have a review out because it was also a pivotal race for the championship. And Donald, I think that's where you're going to start.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you look at the Drivers' Championship, Lando Norris is in front with 390 points. He gained a bunch of points on his teammate, Oscar Piastri. They were only separated by 1 point entering Interlagos. Max Verstappen still creeping at their heels, 341 points. George Russell with 276 and Leclerc in fifth with 214. My thing to watch is now that there is some daylight between Norris and Piastri, the daylight that Piastri kind of held all year until the last couple of races. Will Lando put this thing out of reach? Does he? We joke about the lack of dog that he has had, right? We've joked about it the entire length of this podcast, but this is the moment where the dog needs to show up. Can he see the daylight and go, okay, I want to put more between me and Oscar, where the last two races are basically don't crash type of ceremonial runs? If he can do that, by winning this race or placing much higher than his teammate, that's going to be a real interesting thing to watch. I again, with the elements that we have here in Vegas, I don't know how he's going to operate. And McLaren has had some issues. They had some success, but there's also like Mercedes did well last year, right? It was George and Lewis at the time were 1-2. They could. With their surge, they could have an impact in this. And so I'm looking to see if Lando says, okay, this is my championship. There's 3 races left. It's crunch time, and I got to come out blasted. And if I don't, my teammate's going to catch me. Max is going to catch me. I'm wondering if he's going to get it done.
And I actually think this race is like perfect for that kind of dynamic, because, like you mentioned, Mercedes was so strong here because their car, again, they have no idea. It works when it's cold most of the time, and then sometimes it doesn't. But last year it certainly did. And I think the title race, the drivers' championship race, gets infinitely more interesting if this race, Lando and Oscar aren't fighting for the win. If they're fighting for points below that, that gets interesting because you can't make it like you wouldn't be able to make up as many points if like Oscar won and say Lando finish fifth or sixth or something, kind of like what's been happening in inverse recently. And I kind of want to talk to you about that too, because I think we haven't had a chance to really dive into the dynamic and how things seem to have changed at McLaren. Oscar did an interview earlier on, like, I think it's behind the grid.
It was Beyond the Grid. Yeah.
Beyond the Grid. And he said that position swap in Monza, like, really got to him. Like, it kind of messed with his head a little bit. And I was like, interesting to hear him admit that. But also, it seems like we're in an era now with the car where it's like it's flipped. Like earlier in the season, it was suiting Oscar in the way that he drives, and now it's suiting Lando in the way that he drives. And so whatever balance they were trying to do, I suppose, to like keep things even between them, now it looks like they've kind of put Oscar in a position where he just can't get anywhere close to Lando. And that's just a weird thing, like a weird dynamic. And I wonder how he's coping with that mentally. What do you think is kind of happening between the two? How do you see this sudden shift between Lando suddenly being dominant and Oscar struggling to get fifth?
I've been thinking about that, and I'm not quite certain what the full answer is, because you're right. There is some sort of mental block there. There is not just between Oscar and the team, is with Oscar and himself and some of his driving. Like, some of his driving has been very unlike what we have seen him to be, the cyborginess that he had early in the season, where it just felt like no matter what, he was kind of unflappable. Did things happen that didn't go his way? Sure, but he was able to come back the next race and felt like and dominate. I don't know what has made it where he can't, where there's some barrier, some glass ceiling that he just can't punch through with regards to this. And that happens, right? Like, we see so many people in all sports see their eye have one hand on the trophy and then figure out a way to bottle it, whether it's through poor play or through someone else's surge. This has been a combination of both, right? Like with all the talk about Max Verstappen, he was looking like McLaren has to look behind their mirror for Max Verstappen. He had to look behind and see his teammate zoom past him. And with papaya rules, that you can kind of argue that he had a little assistance in that, no matter what they may tell you. But I'm not sure, because even through all that, even through the papaya rules, he was still unflappable to a degree, and that has been lost, and at the wrong time of the year for him. Because I'm sure if he can't find it in these next three races and overcome his teammate, he is going to regret this season. And how that affects his standing with McLaren is anybody's guess. But that part is going to be a very interesting off-season topic of discussion if he can't come back and win this thing.
That's the question that I'm really interested in, because it definitely feels like, and yes, some of the tracks, and I think Andrea Stella, tried to get ahead of this a little bit from McLaren, just saying, oh, these tracks just kind of suit Lando more. They're low grip tracks, and he's got a driving style that makes it more comfortable. I don't know, man. Oscar was dominating for quite a few races on quite a few different kinds of tracks. I don't know if suddenly it's like, oh, well, Lando's just at a track he likes. I mean, I'm sure that there are certain tracks that most drivers prefer, but Oscar has been good for so much of the season on such varied tracks, short tracks, long tracks, twisty ones, ones with more like straights or whatever. Like he was unstoppable in a lot of ways. And suddenly he can't even qualify in the top four. Like he's struggling to get anywhere near it. Like he's pulling, like he's to the point now where when qualifying is over, you're like, at least he's fifth. At least he's in the top five. Like at least he made it to Q3, right? Like, and that has never been the case. Even when Lando was struggling, that wasn't the case. Lando was just struggling to keep pace with Oscar, but he was still qualifying and doing well compared to everyone else. But Oscar now, Like you'll see Ferraris ahead of him, Mercedes ahead of him. There was a time when wasn't there a baby bull ahead of him at one point?
I think so.
It
Yeah,
was
like
what
a
is going
Hajar,
on
yeah.
right now? Yeah, and I think what was it? Ollie finished ahead of him in a race. Like this is very, very different. And I think that if I don't know Oscar's mindset, he seems to be pretty calm, but I wonder behind the scenes what's happening, because he can look at the season as a whole and look like I had a good lead, I was dominating, suddenly something happened and I was no longer able to put out the results from the car, and now my teammate is. They must have done like whatever development went on with that car went in the direction to suit Lando, not me, at the most crucial time of this title race when I was leading it and I was the one dominating.
And,
I don't know how he feels about that in the offseason.
and it's no coincidence to me that it happened as soon as they clinched the constructors. And that was out of the way. And we said, hey, maybe we'll get some racing between teammates. And all of a sudden, one just fell off the planet. It feels like in relation to where he was before, while this other one decides to surge at the right moment. Like, again, we're not doing conspiracy theories, but man, there's some questions that I have for the offseason that I just, we'll just leave it for the offseason.
Yeah, I think the fallout from this season is going to be interesting. I know McLaren wants to keep both of those drivers long term, keep them competing with each other, but 2026 is going to be very different with regulations. And if somebody, another team nails the regulations and they're like, "Hey, Oscar, you can actually be the actual number one driver here," does he get tempted? That's going to be very, very interesting. Obviously, that's in the future. Looking at this race in particular, I kind of want to know, like you put it in there. The question: will Lando put this thing out of reach? What's your answer?
No. Without giving away my podium prediction, I think this lives for another race.
Okay, and then do you think Max gets in it and gets back in it, or do you think that was like a little flash by Red Bull and now they're back to kind of having issues?
I think when you look at the numbers, like short of Lando and Oscar like crashing out, which we've seen in the last couple of races, there's the sprint next week in Qatar, which adds 8 points that Max can probably get to kind of again make this a little bit more interesting. But it might be too little, too late. Not necessarily based on how Oscar is doing or how far that gap is. That's 23 points, but the gap between him and Lando is a little bit larger. Is 50 points, 51 points. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking it's too little, too late. But I still say that with hesitation because quirkier things have happened, and with some of these crashes, the opportunity for Max to make up points very quickly. He is a guy, right? If let's, for example, if Lando crashes out of one of these races, Max will win that race. Just change the betting lines because Max sees that blood in the water and is like, haha, my time. And he's going to take advantage of that. I don't know if that opportunity will present itself, but I'm sure Max will be ready for it.
Yeah, I think I am a little bit sad that Max is out of it. I think I was listening to the race podcast. And I think somebody there said if Lando picks up 9 more points than him, it's over for Max, like mathematically. And so like he's really close to being out of it. That little push he had was incredible. I kind of wanted to see him just like as the wild card, either in between Lando and Oscar Lando, however it plays out. Just want to see like whoever's gonna have to basically like he's like the final boss. Like if you want these points, you want to chase down your teammate or you want to clinch it, Lando, get by Max. You got to get those points, get by Max. Let's see what you can do, right? Like that's kind of what I want. And we may still get that. I mean, he could still be in the way, but I think points wise, it would be interesting to see if he had more of a chance.
Real quick, I just want to say that after the season's done, one of the questions that we kind of have to review is how Max has found a way to make this podcast shift our feelings about him. I don't know. I don't think it was the baby. I don't think it was him being a dad. But something about this season where we're kind of like, oh, I'd like to see Max kind of trouble. Last year, I would have been like, yo, I hope Max gets 0 points every race. And now I'm kind of hoping that he throws a monkey wrench into this program. Just a little bit over the last 3 races. I don't know. I can't explain it. We're gonna have to figure out in the off season how this happened. But again, this is what we're asking for right now with 3 races to go.
That's a fair point. I do think that my desire to see Max be in the way would be substantially less if he had a chance of really winning. Like if he was leading this championship, I
Oh
would
yeah, for
absolutely
sure.
want him to you remember the manhole cover that came up at Vegas last time and destroyed a car? I would want him to just right down the manhole. Sorry, that's it. And they can't recover your car. You're last. Sorry, you got stuck in a manhole. Like
Like
that's
Mario
what.
Brothers.
Yes, maybe you can make the Mario Brothers noise just as he goes down. That's what I would want. But now, because there's been so much beef kind of between Lando and Oscar, not actual beef in terms of their beefing. Like we don't know that, but behind the scenes everything seems okay, and certainly in public everything seems fine. But in terms of on track, how they're battling points wise, I just want to see Lando have to also take it by conquering Max as well, because his track record against Max has been poor. Oscar actually has a better one against Max. And so it would have been interesting just to see his dynamic and how he could really shift it if he was in the mix and the three of those cars are, wheel to wheel trying to get as many points as they can at the end of a Grand Prix. I think it'll be fascinating. But you know what? But whatever. This is me dreamcasting a scenario. I think what we have is still pretty good. And so will Lando put this thing out of reach? I'm gonna say yeah. And I know that's anticlimactic, and I know that's believing in the X dog of somebody who has shown us repeatedly that you can't really trust a lot of X dog week to week from him. But he's on such a run, and he actually doesn't need to do a lot. I think the result from Brazil really helped him out, because I think if he was only if it was within 5 or 7 points, now there's pressure. But he has a pretty substantial lead right now. Like he's going to have to do something very silly to actually give his teammate enough of an opportunity in the last couple races, race events to get close. I just feel like he can see it. Like it's right there. He can touch it. Max isn't a factor for him anymore. So that is even more, the pressure is off. You just go out there, you do what you do. He loves to kind of front run a little bit, winning races by multiple seconds. Like he loves that. I think it's a wrap. I think whatever they've done to the car really suits him. And I don't believe he's going to maybe win this race, but I think he's going to outperform Oscar and add to his lead.
So there still is some pressure, right? Because the gap between Lando and Piastri is just 24 points. So if Norris for some reason finishes outside of the top 10 and Oscar wins this thing, a week ago Norris was leading this championship by 1 point. After this race, if that were to occur, Piastri would be in top by 1 point entering Qatar. So and then again, you have if they both crash out, then sure, it becomes. I think Lando now is in the business of I need my opponents to start subtracting points. I don't necessarily need to gain X amount. I just need them to not gain X amount. So he's kind of hoping that they fall back in the pack a little bit, and that's the question for this weekend.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I do want Oscar to have one final chance at it. That's what I really want. I don't want it to go the way it's gone. I would like to see Oscar get his shot at okay, now's your chance. Go out there and win this race at Vegas or something. Like turn it around, all of that stuff. Go out there and win when your teammate is struggling. Maybe maybe this is a weekend where it flips. Like we mentioned at the beginning, this is a unique engineering and driving challenge to everybody. Maybe he copes with it a little bit better, and maybe he's actually able to go out there and maybe win this race. Get second place in this race, and maybe Lando falters to 5th or 7th or something like that. I want to see Oscar get closer and make it an interesting conversation again and say, okay, you got a little bit of momentum now heading into these last races. What are you going to do with it? Now the championship is actually within reach of you as well. If you perform well and get ahead of your teammate, you can close this gap really easily, but it's almost like it has to happen now, because later on, it just feels like even though mathematically Lando can't lift the trophy now, this weekend, it just feels like if Oscar doesn't get cut into that lead, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. What I really want to talk about is a little bit of F1, kind of like what we mentioned before. F1 being embracing this Vegas thing. The big, the flashy, the bold. I'm glad they moved away from the driver announcements thing. That was really weird with who was it? Which Buffer? It's not Michael Buffer. What's the other
Bruce
one's
Buffer.
name? Yeah, he was just like yelling in the drivers' faces, and they're like, "Okay, thank you so much."
Why are you hollering?
Yeah, right. Like that's over. But I'm interested to see all the ways they continue to embrace it. And I think teams have done a great job of embracing it because we are seeing a whole lot of special liveries, and that's how you do America. That's how you do Vegas. You make something flashy and you make it interesting. Williams, I cannot wait to see that livery under the lights. Like going through all those neon lights, the way they outline that car, it's gonna look like it's glowing. I cannot wait to see that. Sauber has one. Baby Bulls has one as well. What's the other? Alpine has a special livery. I haven't seen if anybody else has one, but now this is the race you do it. This is the race you come out with something bonkers or just like visually stunning, because under the lights of Vegas, it's going to look tremendous. So like from a visual event, I'm looking at Vegas like really looking like something. I kind of want it to become like not necessarily artsy, but like get gaudy with it. You're in Vegas. Everything in Vegas is gaudy. That's what Vegas is there for. Like you go there and you be silly and you spend money you don't have and you go home crying. That's what Vegas is all about. So like I want the drivers, like the teams to kind of emulate that vibe by showing up and looking like it. I want it to be the kind of livery where if you showed up like in Spain with that, they'd be like, ew, what are you doing? Yeah, that's exactly what you want. Whatever you've designed that would be that get that reaction, that's what you go with in Vegas.
Well, and I think I haven't seen the number of special helmets, but a lot of drivers are kind of tricking out their helmets for the very same reason. You want to see those lights bounce off that helmet and kind of light up the sky as that streak kind of goes. When you see those pictures of the streaks and you see that it's just like a trail of like light streaks for the headlights and stuff.
Yeah.
You want the helmet to kind of have that drag and those kind of cool visuals as well. When you're going past the Bellagio fountain and you just kind of see that, those kind of images are really cool. I think the one thing that they haven't really embraced enough, if you're talking about Gaudi, is the sphere, right? Like they have some of the little things going around, but they could have like the introductions using the sphere. The one thing is always funny when you go to Vegas and you see it's lit up as like a circle with eyes and no in the mouth, and it's just kind of looking at you, and you're like, wow, that's really creepy because a 500-foot tall sphere is looking at me. But it's funny how it watches it follows the race. That's like a little small detail that I thought was brilliant, because for people who can't see these streaks in the middle of the night or if they're on one side of the course, the sphere is kind of telling the people this is where the leaders are, because it was kind of following it around the track as far as it could. So like those little things take advantage of. But yeah, the gaudiness, the glitziness, like you ain't got to show up in a tux or anything like that. You could, it's Vegas. You could show up as you are. But
like Vegas is the kind of vibe where if you're gonna show up in a tux, make sure it's like leopard print, right?
Leopard with diamonds on it. Like,
right, exactly. Speaking of
makes
that,
no sense.
Did
but
you
it
see
works.
Lewis's helmet? He did exactly what you're talking about. It is just like silver. It's like it basically looks like a pile of diamonds. It's like silver and shiny.
It's brilliant. Again, embrace this. Do the fun part of it. It's like they do in Miami, right? Miami, they have all the pinks and the the light blues and the Miami Vice kind of colors. And I'm like, that's what you want to do. This is one where you can, if you want to be leopard, great. If you want to come out in like in a pink Cadillac, do it. Like Cadillac next year. Just saying. Pink.
Cadillac gives us a pink Cadillac at Vegas.
Telling you.
Oh my God.
Telling you. If somebody wants to dress up as the Hangover, you could do that too, right? Like it's a wide range in Vegas.
There's like zero judgment in Vegas. That's kind of the whole deal. Like you just go there and you be as much of a hot ass mess as you need to be.
Because I'm a hot ass mess too. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, tell on you? No, right. We're the same hot ass mess. Like that's how Vegas works.
And so a realistic thing. Like, obviously, I want to see that. Like, I am here for that. I think that as long as you have the good balance of like this is an interesting engineering challenge and this is going to test the drivers, and then you also have the Vegasness of it all, I think that's really cool. So like I want to see the balance of both, because I think that's what will make this particular event unique. On top of that, though, you talked about the battle for the drivers' championship, which Lando is leading, but maybe Max can get back in the game, maybe Oscar can cut his lead. Have you looked at down the table some of these battles, particularly the battle between 6th and ninth, it is tight, tight, tight. Williams is kind of pretty firmly 5th. They have 111 points. Ferrari is 4th, by the way, 362 points. So they're comfortably 4th, but 4th, which is a bit of a problem. They're 4 points behind Red Bull, which basically has one driver. Yikes, Ferrari. And 36 points behind Mercedes. Suddenly, they were number 2 heading into Brazil. So yeah, they've had a fall off. Obviously, both cars not finishing will do that. But anyway, back to 6 and 9. So this is Racing Bulls, this is Aston Martin, this is Haas, and this is Sauber. If you look at the points between these two, or all of these teams, 20 points between them. Baby Bulls, 82. Aston Martin, 72, so just 10 points there. Haas, 70. They're just 2 points away from leapfrogging, 3 points away from leapfrogging Aston Martin. And Sauber at 62. The funny thing is, every single team here besides Aston Martin and Haas has had a podium. Is that correct? Aston Martin hasn't had a podium, right? But we got Hajar on the podium once. We did have a Williams driver on the podium once. Ali came close, and of course we had Hulkenberg. So yeah, it is possible, and it's like those podiums made this interesting, because without them, they probably don't have that points bump to be able to be be all jumbled up like this. But it's really cool to kind of see that they have had out of nowhere all of these teams that have tremendous weekends and picking up a lot of points. But now it's a real scrap now. I'm really, really interested to see how these teams do, because it's money, especially going into a regulation set. A new regulation set, this is going to be difficult. You're going to need the funds. You're going to need a wind tunnel time, which obviously if you finish lower, you get more of. But money is kind of important to several of these teams. I mean, Sauber will be Audi. They'll have plenty of money. Plus, I think they also have some Saudi investment, I believe, is what they've also picked up. But Haas is a small team. Aston Martin, definitely not a small team, given how much money Mr. Lawrence Stroll has and puts into that team. And then, of course, Baby Bulls. But if Haas can climb up there, get to 7th, get to 6th or something, that would be amazing. And they've been so close. Ali, I said they. Giving Ocon a bit more credit than he deserves. Ali has been there and pretty amazing. So this is kind of like your mid-table scrap in soccer, but I'm super into it because of what it can mean for 2026 and beyond.
And last year we had a similar scrap, right, between 6 and 10 at the time, or 6 and 9, because Sauber didn't have a point until the very final race. But it was Interlagos where Alpine had a double podium, and it left them from 9th to 6th, and they clinched 6th in Abu Dhabi. Haas, if there is a time to pop bottles because you got your first ever podium, it is Las Vegas.
Get Ali on a podium.
The American race for the American team. You won't have the Hulkenberg problem where people are like, I don't know where the bottles are. We ain't pack them. Vegas has more bottles than people. If there is a time to pop bottles, it is Las Vegas, Nevada. Do that. Use that to your advantage. And in the process, that will also throw a huge, huge monkey wrench into the top of the race, because all those guys are fighting for all those points. This is the time where someone at the bottom can surprise and also make this race even more uncomfortable for Lando and for Oscar and for Max.
You brought up that Alpine double podium, and I had to go look at something because that was absolutely ridiculous. But they were so bad that even though they got that double podium, they only got 6th over Haas by 7 points.
Right, and it was the last race. I think they got into the point, got double points, and they're they remember they were McLaren is celebrating, and then they kind of pan over, and Alpine's we celebrating too, 6th place.
That is just so silly. What about? I mean, that's well over 50% of their entire points, for the year, and they rocketed themselves and just barely clung on after a double podium. That's wild. Give Haas a double podium now, and Alpine ain't catching them right now anyway. But give them a double podium, and let's see how far up the table that Haas can get. All right, those are the two things I wanted to talk about. Is there anything you wanted to talk about before we get into predictions?
No, I think let's get into the prediction because I think we could go a lot of ways with that.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so predictions. If you haven't listened in a while, which maybe it's been a minute since we've done a preview, we no longer do our previews for Zoomy and Gloomy Boys because we want to award those fresh and have a lot to say post-race about who did well and who didn't. And we can have a good variety there without trying to guess because it's almost impossible to try and figure out who's going to have a good all-around weekend. Like you can try and predict podium winners, which is what we're going to do. But it's really hard to talk about who might have a great weekend and who might have a poor weekend ahead of time. So we are going to do podium predictions. We're also going to do the constructor scrap. We just talked about it a little bit on mid-table and also the top of the table. When we do the constructor scrap, remember, we cannot choose the team with the most points, which is obviously McLaren. They already lifted the constructor's title. And you can't choose the team with the current least points, and that is Alpine. And will probably be Alpine for the rest of the season, unless they do another double podium. We'll see. I should have kept this up so I could see where a double podium would put them this year. But I'm not going to do that to them right now. If Ebony was on the podcast, I might. Because they've been struggling this year, despite her saying at the beginning of the season that they were going to outscore Mercedes. Wow. Tough. Anyway, let's get to podium predictions. Donald, who you got?
So the monkey wrench that I have being thrown in this program is George. Yes, George Russell winning this race. I don't know why.
Who? George
Russell, I think is how you pronounce it in American. Russell. He can tell me. George wins this race. I have Lando getting second, and I have Oscar finishing third.
Nice. I'm very tempted to do Mercedes as well, just because I feel like whatever it was last year, like the track will be, like the conditions will be similar. Like the rain changes things a little bit, but they were so dominant last year that it's hard not to choose them. But I haven't. So we're going to see what this looks like. I do think that McLaren does it. I don't think it's another 10 seconds, but I think that Lando and McLaren are to the point now where Red Bull was the only team really throwing a bunch of development at their car because they felt like they could actually catch them. And now that they've kind of missed that opportunity, like it was always a long shot, but they got as close as they could. And then that was it. So I do think that like McLaren now pretty head and shoulders above everyone. I think they learned quite a bit from last year at Vegas, how to handle the conditions. So I'm going Lando first. I'm going Oscar second. So I think Oscar does get closer to his teammate, but not enough. Closer on track, but not closer in terms of the points. And then I have Charles. I have a sneaky little Ferrari podium coming in. Charles on the podium. Deep D has Max winning. Interesting. She has George second. Interesting. She has Lewis third. Interesting.
Okay. Got to be some Delulu here. I like it.
I want to see her podium. I want this to be the world that we live in, even though it will be a Max win. I think it keeps things spicy for the remainder of the season. So we'll see. Okay, let's do our constructors scrap
real quick because we're in real time. Kyle has entered his prediction. He has Max also finishing first. He has Charles second. And he has George third. So I think he's also thinking that there could be some chaos here.
I love that. And actually, even though I was joking about the dock being open and Deeply not jumping in there about what the track looks like, no, when we record, the dock is always open and anybody can hop in there and do things. So yeah, thank you for pointing out that Kyle was actually actively putting in his predictions. Love that. Okay, let's go to the constructor scrap. Kyle did that as well. I'll start with him since we just finished with him with podium predictions. Most points he has Mercedes. Least points, oh my God, he has McLaren. He says the papaya crash out is happening. I can't tell if that's just like genius setting up the rest of the season or just a lot of hate.
I'm here for it. Just throw some chaos in the mix.
Straight up hateration, holleration in the dancery from Kyle. Donald, your constructor scrap predictions, most points and least points.
So for most points, I have Mercedes, mostly on account of George winning, but I also think Kimi is going to do fairly well. And least, you know how I said Haas get on the podium and do some things? They ain't going to do no things. Haas is going to be least points.
That was a great setup. I thought for a second, I was like, oh, you're gonna. Oh yeah, never mind. You almost had me. You had me in the first half. Deep D has Mercedes with the most points, and least points she has Aston Martin. That sounds pretty sensible. Actually, I think that one has a high probability of being correct. I have Ferrari with most points. I'm a little bit concerned, and we didn't talk about this at the top because I just didn't want to like yell into the microphone for about 10 straight minutes. But we didn't talk about what's going on at Mercedes with John Elkann telling both drivers to basically shut up and drive, which my guy. He said some dumb shit like the engineers are winning the championship. No, they're not. Y'all can't. That car cannot be at the ride height every other car can be because then it gets disqualified. What are you talking about? Like they went in, sure, protect the engineers, protect the people who aren't the multi-million-dollar drivers. That's fine, but you don't have to do it at the expense of the drivers and telling them to shut up. And that's what's wrong with the car. But Lewis, try it. Put some duct tape over your mouth and then drive around the track. See how fast. See if you go faster. Let's prove a point here to Mr. Elkann. Like I'm so mad reading those comments because I'm also like, do you know who the fuck you signed? You can't sign that Lewis Hamilton and then tell him to shut up. What is wrong with you?
He signed him to be an ambassador for Ferrari. Ambassadors talk for a living, and they tell you sometimes what you don't want to hear. That sometimes your shit stinks, and that's okay. You just got to fix it. And throughout this year, there have been a lot of things wrong with Ferrari, and they've kind of succeeded in certain spots in spite of that. But now, like as we're closing out, they're trying to finish on a high. They know they're not going to win the constructors. They know they're not going to win the drivers, but they want to finish on a high and maybe get up to second place again, like in these last 3 races. To do that, maybe you listen to the 11-time drivers champion. Yeah, I said 11. We're still back here. And you listen to Charles, who's been with you forever, and you've seen him grow to the point where he almost won the title last year, right? Like he was brought your team to within a half lap of clinching the constructors. You listen to them because they're the ones that have to go out and do the driving. Yeah, the engineers are a part of it. Yeah, the team's a part of it. The pit crew is a part of it. The principals everyone's a part of it. All 10,000 people who are usually on a car. But in the end, the drivers are the ones that get that car across the finish line. So for them to do that, you should maybe listen to what they have to say.
And I do think that, and I'm sorry to derail us, like we were just trying to fly through predictions, but this really was annoying to me, and I do think that like one of the things that I kept hearing talked about on other podcasts was like maybe Lewis kind of rubbed everybody the wrong way, he was like leaving notes, to people and all of that. My question is, why does he even have to do that? Y'all know who you signed. You know the success he's had. Pick his brain, talk to him before things. Like, how do you want things? Like the communication he's having with his race engineer. I don't understand how that's happening. Like what information did before the season even starts? Hey, Lewis, love to have you here. What information do you need during the race? Like, how can I best help you? Like, what do you like to hear? What do you not like to hear? How can I help you? Like, I want all of that information relayed to me. Like I want to like figure it out. Like this is a tremendous asset coming to your team, not just from the marketing standpoint and just like the iconic standpoint of who he is and how successful he's been in the sport. But like that dude has been in multiple successful teams. So maybe he knows a little bit about how positive things work, like how things actually go and how to like refine some things to make sure that the race day operations go smoothly, trying to figure out how to amplify how to I'm getting stumbled with my words, how to like accept and how to figure out how to like apply the driver's feedback to enhance the car. Like all of those things, it's all important. He shouldn't even have to be given notes. Like, don't get mad at him for giving notes. Y'all should have been like, hey, my guy, sit here. Tell us, like, you've been here for a minute. You see our processes. What can we do to be a little bit more refined in what we do? Like, how can we better ourselves? And instead, he's having to be a little, and I admit, it's a little passive aggressive to drop a little Post-it note, like, maybe consider doing this differently. Like, I admit, but my question is, why does he even have to do that?
That you got that man writing? He did not become a sir to have to write. He became a sir so he didn't have to write. And like you said, the back and forth this offseason will be important. And they, entering 2026 is almost like a brand new slate for everybody. So how do you master yes, we do things differently here at Ferrari than other places. That's fine. 11-time world champion does things differently too. Marry those two things. There will be some compromise. There's going to be some where you go, you know what? I hate doing it this way, but it works for you. So let me figure out a way to make it where it's successful. There's going to be other times I go, I know you hate this, but I promise you this is the best way that we can do this particular detail. They have to work that out. And thing is not like, it's not like a bad situation where you're like, oh no, should they sever ties? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that those little quirky details are the difference, as we've seen, between being a half lap from the Constructors' Championship and having two racers basically in the mix for the drivers to where they are now.
Yeah, and I feel like, I understand like the heritage and history of Ferrari, right? Like there's a reason Lewis wanted to go there in the first place, wearing red, driving the red car. Like I get it. Like I'm here. I understand the prestige that Ferrari has. But if you look at recent drivers' championships and constructors' championships, how many things has Lewis won since they last won something? Right? Like this isn't just a poor like run of form they've fallen into. They've been bad for years. Like, what is their last driver or constructors title? Wasn't it like early 2000s? Like, it's been over a decade. So like maybe you want to listen to somebody who knows a little bit, who's done a little bit more winning than you have in recent history. Oh, I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed at that situation. Okay. I was in the middle of my prediction, if you can still believe that. I did say most points would be Ferrari, despite the rant I just went on for several minutes. Least points, I got Baby Bulls. I do think taking Lauren Meckies away from that team has made him a little bit unstable when it comes to having to figure out the car. And I think Vegas is a weird track to figure out, weird set of conditions to get right. And I think that's kind of going to show a little bit in some of their driver performances. So that's what I got. Okay, Donald, are we done? Do you have anything else before I tell people when to watch things?
No, I'm really excited for Vegas. I always am excited for Vegas. I wish I was at Vegas. Next year, Vegas should invite us to Vegas. I just want to say Vegas one more time. Vegas.
I wish SEO worked with audio as well. Vegas, and Vegas. All right, here's where you need to watch, when you need to watch. And actually, all these times are comfortable. If you're listening to this and you're in the US, this is going to be great. All these times are great to be able to watch. Of course, some of them are going to be kind of late, but you know what? Again, as Donald would say, Vegas. Free practice 1, Thursday, November 20th. 7:25 p.m. Interesting. Free practice 2, also Thursday, November 20th, 10:55 p.m. Oh, by the way, free practice 1 is on ESPN News and ESPN Deportes and ESPN Plus. Free practice 2, the one at 10:55 p.m. on that Thursday, is ESPN2, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus. Free practice 3 is Friday, November 21st, 7:25 p.m. ESPN News and ESPN Deportes and ESPN Plus. Qualifying, stay up late. It's a Friday night anyway. Get yourself a beverage and enjoy some qualifying because it's going to be intense. That's Friday, 10:55 p.m. Eastern, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus. And the Grand Prix, another one, late at night on Saturday, going into the early mornings for people in Europe. So, Now y'all see how y'all like it. 4 a.m. kickoffs and shit we got to deal with. Now we'll see how y'all like it when it comes to an F1 race. November 22nd, 10:55 p.m. on Big ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus. Check it out. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. We gave you just a fraction of the storylines to pay attention to. Also, just aesthetically, check it out because the race is really fun. Vegas has done a good job. Hopefully, they don't put up those damn boards to stop people from looking at it who live in Vegas. Hopefully, they figured out that that's a super bad look for $1 billion sport. But anyway, it's going to be quite good. So check it out. It's going to be fun. And all the liveries. I'm hoping to see more special liveries as well. Maybe we'll see more than the 4 we've already discussed on this episode. Anyway, for Donald, I'm André. Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom.